All right, everybody. Thank you for all tuning into the Biz with D on My Fierce Wings Radio. We have Sharon Carpenter. I mean, if you guys don't know who she is, I mean, the Gossip Game, the creator, co-creator of Gossip Game, seen her on BET, Global Grind. I mean, everywhere. And she's on the line with us. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So glad to have you on this show. So thanks so much.
It's good to be on the show. I know we met briefly at the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta premiere, season 2 premiere. So it's good to come with you on your show now.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. It's definitely good to talk to you because I wanted to, ask you then and there, who do I contact for an interview? But, it was too much going on that night.
It was a hectic night. And on top of that, I was late. So they had to, rush me in and rush me to the seat because the screening was about to start at any second. So, it was kind of hectic, but it was fun.
It definitely was fun. So kind of tell everybody how you got started in the industry for those who aren't too familiar.
Well, I came over here to school. I came from England, as you can probably tell by the accent. And initially, I wanted to work in the music business. I've always had a love for music and hip-hop specifically. My brother's a hip-hop DJ in the UK, and he got me into it when I was a kid. And so I'd always had this dream of running my own record label, having my own record label, being an A&R. And I came over here. I studied business management, all in the hopes that one day, I would have this record label. But while I was in school, I ended up interning for a label, and I realized, okay, this isn't quite what I want to do, which is why experience is always great, right? Internships are always a good, because you can figure out, whether it really is what you dreamed of or not. And then as far as the TV thing, I actually kind of fell into it. I met some people who were the producers of a public access music video show. It was a hip-hop video show. And they were looking for a new host. Their current host was leaving, and they approached me. They said, would you be interested? And I didn't think for a second I would be any good at television, but I was like, sure, I'll give it a go. I was still in school at the time. And we'd just go around interviewing various different celebrities, covering red carpets and different events. And I realized, I think I have a talent here, and people used to compliment me on my interviews a lot. That's really how I started with the TV thing. But, as far as news, it was actually through kind of a chance encounter with somebody who became my mentor, who works in the news industry, and said, we were both covering the same event. It was crazy. It was hectic. I was covering it for the video show. And he basically said to me, anyone who can handle themselves this well in this sort of a situation should be in news. And it kind of just went from there. So, as you guys might know, I have a journalism background. So I became an associate producer for local news. I produced as well, and then I got on camera again. But I've done the traditional news stuff. I've done financial news, working with CBS, and done some stuff for the BBC. But my true passion, what I really love is covering the world of entertainment. But even more, it's kind of where the two come together. Like entertainment of substance, I love to do as well. The fluffy stuff can be fun, but I like stories that are meaningful as well.
I know that's right, because that's all I talk about on my show, stuff that's meaningful. I don't be reporting nothing that's not meaningful, because, in life there's a lot of people that are in media, or they at least try it, and they talk about stuff that is consistently the same, or things that really aren't relevant, that no one wants to hear.
Yeah.
Like okay.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that, especially nowadays, right? The market's kind of saturated with that sort of thing, because it's so easy for people nowadays to kind of put out their own content, that there's just an oversaturation, I think. In a way it's good, because there are kind of, there are a lot of blogs and websites and outlets that cater to kind of that niche market that was overlooked before, that mainstream media didn't really cover, but now we're seeing people kind of getting whatever it is that they want from their chosen outlets.
Definitely. So, I mean, you've been everywhere and done interviews with many different stars. I mean, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Jeff. I mean, you've done a lot in your career. I just got to ask, who was your, favorite interview that you've done thus far?
You know, people ask me that all the time, and it's really a tough one. It's really a tough one to answer. But, I mean, there were different people for different reasons. I mean, I would say Oprah. My interview with Oprah, it wasn't a long sit-down interview. It was quite short. But just to have the opportunity to meet somebody who has really been a big inspiration to me, what I love about Oprah is she's that person that everybody wants to talk to. They feel comfortable with her. And she's not afraid to push them, but she does it in a kind of non-confrontational way. And that's why people, they feel that she cares, and that's why they open up to her. So I have a lot of respect for Oprah and what she's done, you know, with her own show first and then with her network. You might laugh at this one. Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a big Star Wars fan.
Oh, wow.
So interviewing Harrison Ford was very, very cool for me. And there was an interview that I did with David Banner, which really was an incredible interview. And it was after Hurricane Katrina, and I went to Mississippi to cover what was going on, the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, I did see that interview. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, oh, thank you. You know, that was one of the best stories that I've ever done. And, you know, it was one of the most difficult stories that I've ever done as well. Because, one, we were working around the clock. Two, you know, we saw a lot out there, and a lot of people were suffering. And it was just it was great to be able to bring attention to what was happening in Mississippi as well. We had people in New Orleans. We had people in Houston, too. But it was great to kind of draw attention to the devastation that was happening in Mississippi, because Mississippi needed help as well. And David Banner really helped us do that, and took us to areas that other press weren't able to get into, because, you know, he knows everybody in Mississippi, so he had access to basically everything. And just a very smart, insightful guy, and it was a really good interview. I mean, I don't know how we got through it, because we were literally working around the clock for 3 days with no sleep, and then came back to New York, and I had to write the story and put it together. We had a telethon that BET was doing, and we got it on the air, and we ended up raising, how much did we raise? I think we raised about $50 million or something. So
it was a lot. I do remember that.
Yeah, it was a good thing to be a part of, definitely.
And that's amazing to, you know, do what you love to do as far as, like, the media is concerned, and report it, and also give back as well. Like, that's, you know, that's a huge thing. And that's what I'm about to, you know, with my platform. What I do is we talk about different illnesses that people may have, you know, and people actually listen to that. I'm like, well, good, because no one else does it, you know?
That's the thing, and, you know, I think that's always been something that I've loved to do. You know, when we were working over at BET, the challenge was, okay, people are tuning in. You know, young people are tuning in really for entertainment, but we've got to tell them about the things, the issues that are happening in the world that are important, not just entertaining, but important as well. So the challenge was always, how can we tell this story in a way that's really going to resonate with young people? And I think, you know, it's talking to them or talking with them, you know, engaging them and not talking at them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then also, you know, I think it works a lot to use entertainers and use celebrities, obviously, to bring attention to a certain cause. So, you know, when a celebrity talks, a lot of people listen.
That's true, because that's all people want to hear is a celebrity talk about this, talk about popping a Molly, talking about, you I can go on and on, but you know what I'm saying.
I do. There's a lot of Molly talk right now. There's a lot of Molly talk.
I wish it would stop, because it sounds as the word everybody says, ratchet.
It's my thing is, it's like, you'll have a word like that, you're Molly, and then everybody has to use it. I feel like with a lot of songs, it gets very repetitive, with hip hop. I mean, one thing that I feel like rappers talk about all the time, and to me, it's boring at this point. The girl on girl thing, like bring your best friend, I like my girls in pairs, like every song, and it's like, okay, can we move on from that or talk about something different? Because every other song is talking about the same thing.
It's true.
Yeah.
That is so true. So you also starred in Gossip Game, which you co-created. We've got to talk about Gossip Game for a second, because one, with your success, I would never think that you, Kim, and would be on the show. I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, we got a mix of ratchet people mixed with people with class and that have very well-known experience. I was confused by the selection of the cast. Was that something that you picked, or was that something that Tone kind of collabed with?
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing that's actually great about the show, that we were able to get women who are successful and who have achieved a lot in this industry, and, pair them with some of the people who are still kind of struggling to get to, all of us have a journey, and we're all continuing to work towards what our goals are, but obviously some of us are further along than others. But I think that's part of the beauty of the show, that you did see this, because at the end of the day in this industry, you do have kind of a wide range of spectrum of different types of people who are at different points along that path to success. And some people are ratchet, and some people are sophisticated. And I think that can also make it interesting when you see kind of the two of them coming together.
Right.
But, I think with me, I didn't know if reality TV was going to be for me. To be honest, in my wildest dreams, I never thought for a second that I would do reality television. But, we are living in a time where there is a demand for people, people want to know more about who they're getting their information from. They want to know as much as they possibly can from public figures. And I've always been very, very safe. No one knew anything about my personal life. No one really knew what my personal opinions were on anything, even on Twitter. I've had to kind of find a balance, because it's like, there are a lot of people who follow me as a personality, but then there are also people who follow me, like the Daily News and the BBC, and they follow me because I'm a journalist. So, kind of trying to find that balance. But I think, to me, it was like, let me take a risk. This is something different, but I think it could be good for my brand, because I have completely focused on the journalism and the stories and all of that. But it's important to have a brand nowadays, isn't it?
It is.
So yeah, and also because, Tone Boots and I came up with this idea. So, I was like, why not? Initially, I wasn't sure, but I was asked a few times to reconsider, and I reconsidered, and I think it's been a good thing. Reality TV, I think it's just about using it in the right way. Reality television gives you a great deal of exposure. And it may not always be the most positive exposure, but it's up to you to kind of leverage it in the best way possible.
Definitely. And I have to say, I do love and agree with the fact that you mentioned the fact about branding and being cognizant about what you say on social media, because myself, as I do media, hint, hint, wink, wink, duh. I also manage other artists and, the PR. I mean, it's like no matter what you do in entertainment, you have to know how to curb your tongue and what things to put out in the Internet and what not to put out in the Internet. Like, this is one thing that, like, drives me crazy. Like, I'll see somebody who's a rapper and they'll be, like, going into work. I'm like, we don't need to know that. We don't care.
Some people aren't the best tweeters. I think, though, depending on who that rapper is, I guess there are people that really care about that. My thing is when you see, I've seen executives who I've worked with say the craziest things on Twitter, and that to me is irresponsible and unprofessional, unless, depending on what kind of industry you're working in. But I've seen people who work at very, strict kind of corporations just say the craziest things on Twitter. And the other thing is, I think a lot of young people, Instagram as well, they're trying to get attention, right? We're living in a time where everyone wants to be a celebrity, and everyone wants as many Twitter followers and Instagram likes and all of that. So a lot of people will do whatever it takes to get that. And, you'll see young women, and this is something, sometimes I wish I could pull some of these girls to the side and say, listen, like, why is your profile picture your butt? And then you're talking about in your bio, college student / journalist / makeup artist. Like, if that's what you do, that people aren't going to respect you. And then you're wondering why you're getting the comments that you're getting from men. I think women need to be very careful about that. And then also, there are a lot of guys out there. Some of the guys that I follow, who are friends of mine, they'll be like, oh, follow me back. But then when I look at their tweets, it's like, I don't want to see this. Tweeting naked pictures of women or just saying creepy stuff. And it's like, okay, you went on and on and on at me to follow you for this? Like, no, unfollow. I don't want to see that in my timeline.
I'm the same way, because if I see any foolishness like that, I see anybody's ass shots, breasts, I don't care what sexuality I am or what sexuality the person that may help me do my page. It's unprofessional. It's messy.
Yeah.
I'm an adult. I'm not a child. And I think there's something that people don't understand. Like, when you put stuff out there in the industry, especially when you're trying to build a brand and you have a brand, that hurts it so much.
It can really hurt it. It can. And, especially when you're at a stage where you're really trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, you just have to be very careful. And, they had this discussion about Facebook a long time ago. People had, a lot of college students had, or just young people in general, pictures of themselves drunk and, just all kinds of crazy stuff on Facebook. And a lot of firms, you apply for a job somewhere or even, try to get into a college, they'll check a lot of the time. They do a search to see, who is this person. And if
I had somebody look at my LinkedIn page the other day. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, it's so easy to look up information on people and at the, press of a button. So you do have to be careful what you put out there.
Definitely. So now let's continue to talk about Gossip Game and, because Miss Drama, I want to talk about her just a little bit and the altercation that you guys had. What the hell was on her biscuit coming at you like that? Number one, you're the reason why she even has the platform. But what the hell was that?
You know what? I'm asking myself the same thing. I was like, what the hell was that? But I don't know. Miss Drama obviously has issues. I don't know if she was hoping to get her own spin-off show by acting crazy. I don't know, because I don't really know her before the show.
Right.
So there are people who knew her before the show who said, oh, that's not how she is. And there are some people who knew her before the show.
No, that's how she is.
Exactly. She is. So I think I think she may have been doing it for the cameras to a certain extent, because I'm pretty sure if it was just, she and I, she would not have said the things that she was saying. And, at the end of the day, she knows I'm not the girl who's going to go up and backhand her for that.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. That's not how I carry myself. So I think she felt safe to a certain extent to say whatever it was that she wanted to say. But, just to clear that situation up, Miss Drama, actually all of us had a conversation before we started taping the show. Initially, it was a shoot. They shot it, but they weren't really using it for the show. They were trying to feel out, like, people's personalities once the whole group of girls together. And so, you know, we talked about dating in the industry and whether we would or whether we wouldn't. Miss Drama was basically like, no, I would never do that. You know, when guys come at me, you know, I shut them down. And we were basically like, okay, well, when was the last time somebody came at you?
Right.
And I think it may have happened to her, like, once. So I think that I admitted that I've dated guys in the industry because when you work in the industry and you live and breathe the industry, you're around men in the industry. It's kind of a natural thing, you know. So I've dated a couple of guys in the industry, and you know, I've been open about it. And she was just trying to find any ammunition to fire at me. And so that's why she was talking about the whole come-up hoe thing, because I've dated a couple of guys and I've dated a couple of successful guys. You know, they have nothing to do with my career. But, you know, I've worked my way up and worked very, very hard. And what I found very insulting and sad, really, I mean, I think it's a sad thing because you do hear that from men a lot of the time. You know, men who maybe they liked you and you didn't give them an opportunity, so they're using anything they can. Or maybe they're just threatened by you and where you are in your career. But to hear that from another woman, and it's like you know very well that that's not the case. You know very well, like, I've worked very hard. Like, going out with guys in the industry doesn't win you awards. Going out with guys in the industry doesn't, like, get your stories done. You know, I'm good at what I do at the end of the day, and I think she was just trying to find any ammunition that she possibly could. The thing is with Miss Drama, if she had, you know, if she'd carried herself differently, Angela, you know, Kim and I, like, we could have kind of helped take her under our wing, you know, shown her the ropes, introduced her to people. And this business is all about connections, isn't it? It's all about connections and who knows you and that sort of thing. And I think she's just burned so many bridges that I'm sure things are going to be very difficult for her right now because, you know, the world saw that. The world saw that.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I've checked, you know, her records and things like that and see what she's done. But that's not even going to matter because what she's done is made herself look like a fool on television. And as bad it is to say, I've heard her do interviews. I've had a client that's actually two, and I hate to even put it out there like that, two clients that have been on her show, and what people have seen on television is, in fact, indeed true. I'm just like, you know what, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, I mean, on the flip side, I will say this. She did kind of make the show more interesting. Like, you know, her character was quite hilarious and entertaining. And I have to say, like, one of my favorite scenes was that drama departure twirl, you know, the way once I took her out at my birthday party. And that exit was hilarious. It was worth her coming to the party just to see that exit. I thought
it was, because I was like, oh, my goodness. And then y'all were doing it as well. I was like, see.
It was so
like, they play way too much.
It felt like that exit took about 10 minutes. Like, it just kept going and going and going. It was so funny. I was dying laughing.
Now, would you like to, like, create, like, maybe, like, another show like that with, like, just maybe integrated males that are up and coming or, you know, that are already doing something in the game for the next season?
Maybe. I mean, we're not sure what's happening, you know, if there's definitely going to be a season 2 or not, but we should know that very soon. But, you know, a lot of men have asked that question, and I don't see why not. You know, I think that could be interesting. I think that could be just as interesting. I think what I would like to see more of is, you know, if we did do another show like that or if there is a second season, you know, I'd like to see more of the actual kind of hard work and the drama and the conflict that comes with that. Right. You know, which can be difficult to capture sometimes. But, you know, I'd like to see a little more of that side of things.
Yeah, because, I mean, if so, I need to be on television. I'm your guy.
Yes. We're gonna have
I
to
am your guy. You just let me know. Shoot, I may not be ratchet, but you know.
Seem like
you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? And sometimes with shows, you definitely need ratchet. You need you need the drama. And some shows, you really don't need it as much because sometimes people don't want to watch it. Like, I think everything with Miss Drama and everything, that was enough. You know what I'm saying? I think going in, like, this is what I think. Just going into the next season, I think it should be like a new, fresh restart. Maybe somebody that's a little less ratchet. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that next season could be really something, you know, hot. Because I mean, you still got the controversy with some of the other cast too. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, you know, I think there are a lot of people, you know, we were kind of joking. I don't know if they ever used this on the show, but, like, a few of us were together and we were talking about, like, Ratchet's winning. You know, Ratchet always wins, right? Ratchet doesn't always win, but it keeps a lot of people entertained. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think with some shows, people do want to see that. I think with our show, there were a lot of people who wanted to see more of that, and then there were also people who wanted to see less of it. So I think it's finding the right balance. I don't think every reality show has to be ratchet.
Right.
But I think it's also, you know, figuring out who is the audience really, you know, and what are they looking for.
Right. And that was your first, like, show created and producing, right?
It was. I mean, we had another show idea. We were working on actually around the same time, which is a great show idea, and I'm still going to try to make that happen. It came to a bit of a standstill, which happens a lot. You know, people will have great ideas, but then somewhere along the way, it actually came to a standstill because there was one other person that we wanted to kind of be involved, and that didn't happen. So, but it's still something that we could possibly do, and I think it's a really, really, really good idea. And we're working on some other show ideas as well. But yeah, that was my first one, and so
you did great. You really did.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. You know, because I do like the behind-the-scenes stuff as well as, you know, being on camera. And, you know, as I said before, I actually really kind of got started as a producer behind the scenes, and I still produce now. I didn't produce this show; I co-created it, but I like to produce.
Right. You know, same thing, pretty much. you got your hands in there.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I mean, Sharon, thank you so much for this interview. I feel like this is one of the most funnest interviews I've ever done. It's different from the interviews I've heard you do with other people. So I feel like this interview is like the best for me.
Yeah, no, I thought this was good too. And, you know, much more of a conversation as well, right? Like,
right.
I think the best interviews, are conversations.
Mhm. They are, because I've had people like Brandy on my show and like Jill Scott and, you know, like Mindless Behavior. I've had a lot of people, and it's just been conversation. You know, it's not really been like, you know, interview this and, you know, so what about this and what about this? Like, even with Avant, I've had Avant on my show, and I was just, because we're the same sign. So we were just talking about, you know, the kind of women we like, what doesn't attract to a Taurus. Like, it was like, wow.
Yep. No, I love those kind of interviews. Well, it's just kind of natural. You know, with me, you know, I'll have my questions, of course, that I want to hit. But I think a lot of people make the mistake of kind of reading through, okay, this question, now I'm on to this question. And sometimes you have to do that when you only have a certain amount of time, and you've got to get those questions in. But, you know, when you can just kind of play off of what the person actually said to you rather than, okay, it's time for the next question now, that's always nice. And I think that's the key to a good interview, like listen to what the person says and then play off of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That is so true.